Thursday skills, language, and system navigation. Why confront before going to management? Let's talk about that employment skill that every Black career woman needs, should know, and should apply immediately after listening to this live. As your workforce care nurse, let me teach you what I wish I had known as a young medical assistant, phlebotomist, registered nurse, transplant coordinator, PACU nurse, whatever the case may be. If you are a Black woman with a job, you're faith based, college educated, career driven, and dealing with issues in the workplace, there are some skills that you absolutely need so that you can navigate these systems without falling victim, falling to the wayside, without losing faith, and without losing your ability to continue to create income, create wealth, and teach your children how to navigate these systems without just being passive, as if you don't have a God in you, right? So, workforce care, let me go ahead and just read this because I've kind of pivoted just a little bit in my posture. I pivoted a lot in my posture. I think I healed overnight. Workforce care is a nurse led education that equips Black career women with the skills, language, and system navigation needed to make informed decisions during vulnerable seasons of work and life. Today's lesson is on confronting. So before going to management, ask yourself, have I spoken to the person first? Have I spoken to the person who keeps gossiping about me? Have I spoken to the person who keeps putting blocks out in front of me so that I can stumble and fall? Have I spoken to the person who rolls their eyes at me every time I walk past? Have I spoken to the person who seems to be out to sabotage everything it is that I do? Have I had a conversation with that person? Because many workplace problems and home problems can be resolved through honest conversation. Are you willing to have that conversation? Are you worth having a conversation for? Is your future employability, your health, your mental health, your physical health, your financial health worth having a conversation for? Conversation isn't aggression. I know. Every time we open up our mouth, somebody think we being aggressive. It's something wrong with the tone. Every time. Every time. It never fails. I know people have said things to me, and unfortunately, I had adopted this habit of letting people just say whatever they wanted to say to me and just didn't have a comeback for it. Not that I was afraid of them, just that I kind of just felt sorry for people who had such negative things to say about me when they didn't know me or didn't have a conversation with me and don't know anything about me. And even if they do know something about me, they're more of my accuser than someone who wants to properly understand me because they're never curious enough to ask a question about why I did something or why I said something or what the intention was. So I'm saying all of that to say don't let people at work and in your life get away with painting pictures of you. Um, they can think whatever they want to think about you, but if they're opening up their mouth about you, then you want to make sure that you are expressing who you are so they know how to treat you. Because, Black woman, the only way someone is going to be able to understand us and to know us is to set standards and expectations that we ourselves follow and that other people have to get on board with. So we're talking about confrontation is communication. Just before then, I said that confrontation is an aggression. And I went on ahead to say that a lot of people think that we are being aggressive every time we open up our mouth. It is not the truth. You may be assertive, but assertiveness never forgets you. Aggression forgets the other person, but assertiveness, when you're speaking, you include yourself and the other person. We're not abandoning ourselves in 2026 moving forward for our jobs, for our children, for our family, for anyone. We're never going to abandon ourselves because our God that we serve want us to be humble towards him, and that includes being fully engaged with who we are, authentic and presenting who we are as people in this world. So confrontation gives the communication that you absolutely need at work and at home. It gives people the opportunity to clarify what it is that you're saying, to correct, to apologize, and to change. You, if you go directly to your manager about what somebody has done to you at work, you rob another person of that opportunity. How would you like it if somebody complained about you behind your back and has never even said anything to you? Like I know I would feel, and this has happened to me before. Maybe I give a quick story. I was working in the ICU at Ronald Reagan UCLA, and I was in communication with the lab, and yeah, I had gloves on still. I never forget, it was a busy day. Phones was ringing off the hook. Everybody's alcove, and alcoves are the little areas that we work in that can monitor our patients face to face. And instead of me picking up the phone, because I did have the gloves on, I would use my pen and I just put speaker so that I can get the information really quickly without risking contamination, right? One of the nurses was like, "Can you pick up the phone, please?" And I was like, "No, I can't," because we're just not doing that right now. She went to go complain to the manager. And my manager, knowing my character, when this woman went to go complain about me, my manager actually said, "What did you do to Glenay?" And I love that. I love that he knew that I wasn't just going to be causing any trouble, because I did take her into the room, into the med room, and I confronted her about the way that she tried to handle me or mishandle me. Like, lady, if you're irritated, go home because we're not working around you today. We are all busy. But I say that to say, give people an opportunity to clarify, to correct, to apologize, and to change their behavior with you, because what you want is to be valued and respected. And and if any of you are like me, like sometimes when I do set these standards and boundaries, I'm like, oh, I hope I wasn't being too mean. I hope they understood what I said. It's time for us to grow up and understand that we can be our own worst enemy, and we want to change that for 2026 moving forward. Work fatigue. If this is your first time listening to us, work fatigue is how we define the causes of what gets us sick in our workplace. There are 5 levels of work fatigue. I'm not going to go through it right now, but I will leave it in the comments. Work fatigue can make us avoid the very conversations God calls us to have with other people. We call it keeping the peace. We call it, oh, I don't like conflict. We call it, I'm just trying to be nice. We call it, I'm just gonna let go and let God. God done told you to do something, but you're like, nah, I don't want to get involved. I'm just here for my paycheck. But sometimes that can be fear. And if you didn't hear my live yesterday about fear and language, I recommend that you go back and check it out. Jesus taught us that, moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him. Go and talk to him about what's going on between you and him. That's Matthew 18:15. before involving others, before you go to the manager, before you go and talk to your other coworker about what this one individual is doing or you're perceiving is doing, scripture teaches us to go to that person first. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of God. You want to go and talk to that person directly so that you can make a judgment. Yes, a judgment instead of accusing. So many of our people be like, oh, we're not supposed to judge. We're not supposed to judge, but you accuse all day long. Some of y'all rather be more like the devil than you be more like God. Be more like Jesus. Stop accusing people and start confronting the situation and asking so that you can make a judgment. The Lord that we serve is a judge, not an accuser. The enemy is an accuser. He makes up things. Some of y'all can have a whole conversation going on in your head that never involved the person that you were actually supposed to be talking about. You just go with your own narrative. Make a promise to yourself today. I will no longer be an accuser. If I think something, I'm going to have to be curious and ask questions about it. Why? Because I want to make a proper judgment as to whether or not this spirit is for me and I should receive it, or if this spirit is not for me and I should rebuke it. Sometimes we don't know whether or not it was misunderstanding, if it was bias, a bad day, immaturity, or something more serious than until you have the conversation. Some people have neurological issues. Some people are on medication. Some people don't have the capacity to show empathy on their face because they're on medication or because they've had some kind of medical therapy or because they have some kind of neurological injury. We don't know. All we doing is looking at somebody and like, I'm not really receiving cues from this person. Is this right? Ask. Ask. Now we can use wisdom after we have already set the standards and have asked the question and received the answer. Now we can discern and determine whether or not it's harassment, discrimination, threats, violence, retaliation concerns, or concerns for your safety. Follow reporting policies and then seek appropriate support. But for everyday workplace tensions, don't confuse avoidance with holiness. If you confuse avoiding a situation with you being holy, I'm going to have to ask you what God you serve. I'm going to have to ask you. I want you to tell me. Because everybody want to be a God until you have to follow the instructions of Yahweh, the creator of heaven and earth. Sis, I want you to confront with grace, confront the situation, ask questions, test the spirit, gather the information, then decide your next steps because education about the systems and access is wealth. Wealth and discernment protects your mental health, your physical health, your financial health, your career outcomes, and your peace. So today's workforce care skill is avoidance. Avoidance isn't peace. Sometimes the most professional and spiritual thing you can do is have the conversation first. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, if your friend is talking your head off about what Becky or Linda or whoever it may be is getting on their last nerve at work, tell them stop. Tell them stop. Have you had a conversation with that person first? Because if you haven't had a conversation with that person first, I'm going to need you to confront that person in love. This is workforce care. This is what we do. And today's lesson was on confront. I'm so happy and so excited to be in this position to be telling you all of this. If job stress has been lasting you longer than 6 weeks, job stress, And I hope when I say this that it doesn't go over people's head, because you know the book of Job, Job and Job is spelled the same way. And I just want you to know that job stress doesn't have to be just at work. It can be role related stress. Sometimes the role that we have to play and do and perform in is stressful, and we want to check out. I remember some years ago, I just wanted to go to sleep and wake up and be like, "Oh, this is for me." Like, it was so stressful. Oh, one of my pastimes for, and I have to be careful because I will run from life in my bathtub. Baby, give me some candles, some hot water, some bubbles, some perfume. It's over. It's over. I will run from everything to my bathtub. And I just said all of that to say that there are many avoidance out there, and avoiding situations, especially when it needs to have a confrontation so that you can get to the other side of that stressor. And that stressor, when I say stressor, I mean that challenge, that thing that's in your way, whatever thing that is, that thing becomes your way. You have to move past that. You can't continue your life parallel to it, wishing you can get on the other side. You must slay it. You must slay it. So if you're having any issues, or if you're a friend, or if you know someone, we have a free work fatigue quiz. We would love to continue to educate Black career women on what's happening in the workplace, how to practice the faith at work, how to move beyond your stressor. If you have questions, comments, thank you so much for being a part of today's live. Bye.